Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Emma. I'm a chef tutor here at the School of Wok. Welcome to another Flavour Fridays. Today we are making Korean kimbap. Korean kimbap, although it might look like sushi, it's actually a bit different. The rice is seasoned with sesame oil and salt instead of mirin or rice vinegar. Kimbap tends to be a little bit bigger, and the filling is also different. Most of the time it's different vegetables, kimchi, maybe a pork or beef bulgogi. But today we're going to do an assortment of different vegetables, and we're also going to make a deep fried prawn to go into our kimbap. So first things first, we need to cook our rice. This is Japanese sushi rice, which is a shorter grain. Now you might have heard in Japanese sashimi restaurants, chefs train for years and years and years, sushi masters just washing rice. That is what you want to do with your sushi rice for the kimbap. So I washed my rice until the water came out pretty much clear. And that's when you know you've washed off all of the excess starch from the grain of rice to prevent it from sticking together when we cook it. So the trick with cooking sushi rice is that you want 20% more water than the weight of the rice. So here I have 200 grams of sushi rice. So I'm going to add 240 grams of water. So I'll add the measured amount of water straight into the pot. Make sure it's all nice and evenly distributed in the pot. I'll cover it with the lid, and then I'm going to bring it up to a boil. The second the water in the pot starts to boil, I'm going to turn it down, right down to a simmer, and simmer it away for 10 to 12 minutes. Throughout this cooking process, do not open the lid of the pot. You don't want any of that steam to escape. So my water is bubbling. I can see some steam developing on the lid, and also I can hear it bubbling away. So I'm going to turn it right down to a low simmer. And then I'm going to cook the rice for around 10 to 12 minutes, and then I'm going to turn it off, but keep it in the pot to continue letting the steam escape for around 5 minutes. So the next thing we're going to make is an egg omelet to go into our kimbap. Now this isn't an omelet like the Japanese style tamago or the French style super creamy omelets. It's basically like a very thin crepe made out of whisked eggs. So over here in this small bowl, I've got 2 whole eggs. I'm just going to whisk them up until they're nice and smooth. Let me see if I can do it one-handed. Oh yeah. And then you can whisk your eggs just until it's all one color. While I'm whisking, I'm also going to add a small pinch of soy sauce, just a small amount, quick teaspoon. So you want something like this, a very smooth consistency. And then in a non-stick frying pan, you can heat this up to a medium-high heat. And then we're going to cook our egg omelet. I've just got some vegetable oil here. You can use any neutral flavored oil. And then you want to lightly coat the bottom of the frying pan. Growing up, I actually ate a lot of kimbap because I lived near a Korean neighborhood and my school was 30% or more Korean. And at lunchtime, we would often have bake sales, but we wouldn't sell cupcakes or brownies or things like that. Instead, a lot of the Korean students sold kimbap. And I reached a point where they were only allowed to sell kimbap on Fridays because we were stealing too much business away from the school cafeteria. So sometimes on Fridays, it would be a really hush-hush deal that, hey, I got some kimbap, I'll sell it to you for 25 RMB, I don't know. So my frying pan is hot. I'm going to add some of the egg omelet. You don't want it to be too thin, you just want a nice even layer on the bottom of your frying pan. So move the frying pan around so that it's nice and even. So once you can smell the egg that it's fully cooked, that's how I always know. Be confident to slide your spatula right underneath and then give it a really nice flip. If it falls apart when you try to flip it, not a big deal. We're going to slice it up and it's going into the kimbap. No one will even know. It only needs to cook for a second on the other side, and then I'm going to slide it right onto my chopping board. So now that I've cooked my egg omelet, I'm going to slice it really thin so that it looks similar size to this. So this over here is a pickled daikon, radish, mooli, whatever you want to call it. A very traditional ingredient in Korean kimbap. I've got some julienne carrot here that I've already cooked in a frying pan. You want to cook it because you don't actually want a crunchy raw carrot in the kimbap filling. You want it to be quite soft. I've got some cooked spinach here as well, which I've squeezed out all of the excess water so that it doesn't water down our kimbap. So with the egg omelet, you want to simply slice it into long strips. So I'll slice it in half first, flip it around, stack it on top, and then I'll do long, thin slices. Once that's all sliced, I'm going to lift it up and stack it right onto the plate. And those are some of the prep done for my kimbap. The last thing to do is deep fry my prawns. So over here, I've got some vegetable oil heating up on a wok. You know your oil is hot enough when you stick a wooden chopstick in and it starts bubbling away. That is when you know that your oil is hot enough. And over here, I've just got some prawn that I've just split in half lengthways. So you've got really nice thin pieces like this. So it's really easy to lay flat in my kimbap roll and be much easier to roll. Over here, I've got my deep frying station. You all know this by now. I've got some plain flour seasoned with salt and pepper. I've got some egg, and I've also got some Japanese panko crumbs. Now, seafood cooks very quickly, so you want your oil to be quite hot. This is vegetable oil, but you can use any oil for deep frying that you want. So, very simply, I'm going to drop a few pieces of the prawn into the seasoned flour, move it around, and then shake off any excess flour and drop it into the egg mixture. And then with my other pair of chopsticks, give it all a really good mix, coat it in the egg mixture, lift it up, drip off any excess egg, and then dip it in the panko breadcrumbs. Once you've dipped your prawn in the panko breadcrumbs, you can slowly lower it into your hot oil. With a spider like this, you can move the prawns around, make sure they're deep frying evenly. And then once you've got a nice golden brown like this, you can remove it from the oil and set it aside on some paper towels. The rice has been sitting in the pot for around 5 minutes, enough time for any more steam to escape. I'm going to very carefully lay the rice out flat on a tray so that it slightly cools down, and then I'm going to season it as well. So the lid comes off, and then I'm going to gently lay my rice on the tray. If you've cooked your rice correctly, then you shouldn't get anything sticking to the bottom of the pot. There shouldn't be any brown bits. It should come off very easily. That's when you know you've cooked your rice correctly. So I'll lay my sushi rice out flat. This looks perfect. The grains are fully cooked and they're not sticking together. It's not soggy. It's perfect sushi rice. I'm going to season it with some salt and also sesame oil. Now, if you want really delicious traditional kimbap, look for Korean sesame oil. The sesame seeds are deeply roasted, and so it tastes slightly different. So, added some salt, I'll add some sesame oil, and then I'll mix it all together. So this is the main difference between kimbap and sushi. We're seasoning with sesame oil instead of a vinegar. So I'm going to give the sushi rice a taste, see if it's enough salt and sesame oil. That's perfect to me. I don't think it needs anything more. So now that I have deep fried my prawns, I can start assembling my kimbap roll. Now when you're doing this, it's really nice tip to get a small bowl of water right by you to clean your hands in case the rice ever sticks to your fingertips. So I've got a seaweed sheet right here, and there's always a smooth side and a rougher side. You want to have the smooth side down so that it looks more beautiful when you present it, and also having the sticky side up helps the rice stick to the sushi roll. So over here I've got a bamboo rolling mat that I've wrapped in many layers of cling film. This is to help me roll the kimbap so that nothing sticks to the bamboo mat. So laying my seaweed sheet rough side up onto the bamboo mat, I'll add some of the rice. Now the rice is room temperature at this point, so it's easy to handle, but it's not cold, so it's not gonna get too tough. So room temperature rice is what you want. I'm going to lay it flat on my seaweed sheet. Now, as opposed to sushi, kimbap is a little bit bigger, so you can be a little bit more generous with the rice. Now, as I lay my rice flat onto the seaweed sheet, I'm leaving almost a centimeter or a bit more empty in the top so that rice doesn't squeeze out at the very end when I roll it all together. So now that I've got a nice even layer of rice, I can start stacking my ingredients. So I'll add the yellow pickled daikon right over here. I'll add some of that cooked carrot. Really nice even layer. I'll add some of this egg omelet. Now these are just some of the ingredients that we are using today. You don't have to use an egg omelet or carrot. You can use anything you like. Cucumbers, crab meat sticks, the deep fried prawns. They're not a traditional ingredient, but who doesn't love some deep fried prawns dipped in panko breadcrumbs? Traditionally, you would have something like pork or beef bulgogi or even just kimchi. So I'll continue stacking on my ingredients. I'll add my prawns. So now I am ready to roll. Now, when I roll my kimbap, I'm lifting up the very bottom, I'm folding it over, and then I'm tucking it in with the bamboo mat. So fold over, tuck it in, make sure it's really nice and tight. Folding it over, making sure it's really nice and tight. Continue folding over. And then when you get to the very end of the kimbap roll, dip your finger in some water, and this acts like a glue to help the kimbap stick together. Run some water all along the edges of the kimbap roll, and then you can finish rolling. So roll, 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 roll. Make sure it's nice and tight. And there you have perfectly rolled kimbap. So here is my finished kimbap. All that's left to do is slice it up and serve. I've got a really nice sharp knife over here, and I'm just going to slice it maybe a little bit over a centimeter thick. So not super thin, but not too big. With the end bits, you can slice them a little bit larger just to get rid of those ends. Growing up, a lot of my Korean friends, those were their favorite bits of the kimbap. So slightly bigger on the ends. So here is my finished kimbap. I think all the Korean moms that knew me growing up would be very proud. It's really nice and crunchy from all of those vegetables, but you still get a really nice nuttiness from the sesame oil. This really takes me back to having this for lunch growing up, where I would buy it in the afternoon during a bake sale. So let me know what you sold at your school bake sales growing up. Was it just brownies and cookies, or maybe were you selling something a bit different? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, comment, or subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you next time on Flavour Fridays.